mean, the way that dude flew is like the only way to describe it is cowboy, but it's smooth. Like he can handle the aircraft that way. And he's having the time of his life, just like popping rockets and shooting things with 30 and blowing smoke into my face, laughing about it. And he starts to see me get like squeezy because my head is moving in different planes and everything. And I'm getting smoke belted in my face. Oh, and we're on the second load out of a 6 load day, which means I got another 4.5 hours of this. And I just start puking, and I start puking in a bag, and we're tipped in on a target, and I just finished puking in a bag.
Sipping on success, feet up in the air. Why work harder when you can play it smart? Well, that's the lazy leverage way to steal their heart.
And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of Lazy Leverage. I'm joined here by my friend, my Roman, my countryman, Christian Ruf of Uncommon Elite, also known as a Navy SEAL of the Army. Christian, how are you on this fine Friday morning?
Would it be Navy SEAL of the sky?
Navy SEAL of the sky, Navy SEAL of the Army.
Ranger Regiment, I think, is Navy SEAL of the Army.
Okay, a former helicopter Navy SEAL. We'll call you a former helicopter Navy SEAL. So, welcome, Christian. Your former organization, lot of PR lately. A recent Medal of Honor.
A lot of PR.
Congratulations.
Well, nothing I did. Just very, very true to the organization. So proud of those dudes.
Is it the first Medal of Honor for the 160th?
Yeah, it's first Medal of Honor. It's first helicopter pilot Medal of Honor since Vietnam, I believe.
Wow, that's incredible, man. I mean, you can have mixed feelings about the engagement or the whatever, but you cannot have mixed feelings about what that dude.
No, you cannot. Absolutely
you're just
not.
Like, yeah. That's awesome.
I think there's not I still think there's not enough credit going to. Well, I'm sure he's getting some credit, but the co-pilot that flew them out of there,
take it over.
Because at the end of the day, somebody still has to fly the aircraft.
And
get them out of the country. You get in, now you got to get out.
I heard
that dude had to do it.
I heard that at a peak moment of tension, one of the crew chief looked and saw the patch on the back of his helmet that said, "Stop screaming, I'm scared shitless too." Which was your, what was it? Stop. It's your patch. What was it?
Yeah. Stop screaming, I'm scared shitless too.
Okay, good. Which is just an awesome thing to see in a moment of tension on the pilot's shoulder or wherever you were. So it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to talk about something that is near and dear to both of our hearts, which is accountability and building accountable organizations. I have a lot of thoughts about this. You have a lot of better thoughts than me about this. So, you do a lot of coaching work. I do a bit. Obviously, I try to do it within our own organization as well. Walk me through how you enter the topic of accountability.
I entered the topic of accountability by first asking the question around by which can you hold somebody accountable? What does it take to have accountability? And to me, the first thing is expectations. If you have no expectations, you have nothing to hold anyone accountable to. If we say
can you hold somebody accountable without expectations or a standard? I think it's unfair. I genuinely think it's unfair.
I think it's unfair too. I think where you get into an interesting, maybe gray area, and we can discover this, is culture. Cultural expectations.
Normative expectations. Never said, but do I really need a rule that says don't piss in the trash can? Or can we all just agree?
Yeah, that you don't
piss in the trash can. Do I need a label? Yeah.
So there's certainly a gray area. And so when I think about talent, I think two sides. Performance, culture. Are they a performance fit or are they a cultural fit? And so when I think about expectations, because you hire people to do roles and deliver outcomes, I think it through the lens of performance, actually doing the job, the skill set to do the job, and cultural, are they going to be a member of your job? Now, the 160th, if you quit at something, you're gone.
It's impossible. Christian, that's impossible because Night Stalkers don't quit.
I know.
So you mean if you're not a part of the 160th yet and you quit, because if you're a part of it and you quit, that doesn't exist. That's like, rain
Right. Like
going up.
you would see people quit during assessment, and okay, so the cultural expectation of that organization is you don't quit. And you'll see guys quit, and then it's okay, this isn't a good fit for you. So, but back to, do expectations have to be written down? I think performance wise, yes. Written down or so somehow clearly communicated, whatever form of communication you use, a way that's clearly communicated, so that's specific, shared, and supported. Specific as in, if I tell you to just go work out, what does that mean? If I tell you to go work out 5 times a day at 7 o'clock and here's this program, okay, that now we're entering the realm of specificity. The shared part would be the understanding why we're doing, and supported is like, do you have all the resources to be successful? If you don't have an expectation that's drawn up that way, I find it really hard to hold somebody accountable to something. And talented leaders will, when they see something go awry or not get met, the first question they ask themselves is, all right, did I set this person up for success with an expectation that was reasonable and manageable? And if the answer is no, I don't believe you have a basis by which to hold them accountable. You now have a basis by which to go reset expectations.
I think that linking it into kind of like experiences that I've had, I think that when most people listening to this they think that they have a culture that can allow things that need to be explicit to go unsaid. And the fact is, they have no idea what a real accountable culture looks like. So instead, they're like, well, why didn't she know to do that? It's like, because she's not a mind reader. And you honestly, like, I don't think people who haven't been in a high level organization culturally, like, understand when you say culture sets expectations, how freaking strong the culture needs to be. And it's bred into you from literally the moment you even hear about joining the organization. They start talking about Night Stalkers don't quit. And then you walk onto the base and there's a sign and the guard says, "Good morning, sir. By the way, Night Stalkers don't quit." And then you're like, it's not like you wrote some crappy Google Docs 6 weeks ago and you mentioned one thing in an all hands Zoom and you're like, wait, I told you our culture is that we're detail oriented. And you're like,
did you not read it on the onboarding? Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't even understand the seriousness with which a culture must be like built, communicated, talked about, proliferated by people other than the boss. Like, so anybody listening to this, if you think culture is setting expectations, I can almost guarantee they're not. Like, I can almost guarantee they're not. Right?
It's the lens, like at least there, it's the lens by which you think and view everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely everything. Like,
literally
you're
everything.
Literally, like, you're in the, I mean, I'm trying to think of an example of, well, like, I got a great example.
Dude, you can remember, oh, sorry. I was going to give you an example that you've told me before.
No, I can, like, I joke about this experience a lot, but puking in the aircraft.
Yeah.
There's a particular flight lead in the 160th that smoked in the cockpit. And we were doing a call for fire exercise with Ranger Regiment. So they were over at our range and they're on the ground and they're calling for fire and we're dipping in and shooting. And this particular flight lead is ripping cigarettes in the left seat and I'm in the right seat, still a new guy. And he's wild. I mean, the way that dude flew is like, the only way to describe it is cowboy, but it's smooth. Like, he can handle the aircraft that way. And he's having the time of his life, just like popping rockets and shooting things with 30 and blowing smoke into my face, laughing about it. And he starts to see me get like squeezy because my head is moving in different planes and everything. And I'm getting smoke belted in my face. Oh, and we're on the second load out of a 6 load day, which means I got another 4.5 hours of this. And I just start puking, and I start puking in a bag, and we're tipped in on a target, and I just finished puking in a bag, and my only job in life is to take the weapon system from safe to armed, which you actually have to basically turn your body and physically do. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm about to fucking puke again. So I puke in the bag with one hand and arm it with the other hand. He's able to make the shot. He turns away from it. I save the thing. And in that moment, I was like, I could just say, I'm done for the day. But then what? They don't get to train. So it's not like we're going around yelling Night Stalkers don't quit to each other. It's just
and you don't have
the
SOP,
lens.
you don't have an SOP that says co-pilots are expected to arm and disarm expeditiously regardless of stomach status.
Exactly.
Right? Right?
So I ended up having a mini heat stroke because it was so hot out. And then from that point on, they went and got those NASCAR race car drivers have these like really high end suits that they wear with the water pumps into it, and so we were able to go buy one and like test it out for the aircraft. Innovation, so, all because skinny Captain Ruff is puking everywhere.
I'll give you an example of one in my old organization, and it's like less dramatic than yours, but I grew up my whole life thinking I was bad at languages. It's just like, I just wasn't bad at languages. And then you're in a culture where in order to do your job effectively, you need to learn languages. And like, well, not like the way that the Army SF says they learn languages, where they do like 3 weeks and they can like speak 4 sentences and then they put on their LinkedIn that they speak Arabic, right? Like that's a trigger warning. But like actually learn languages and be persuasive and be nuanced. But if you're in a culture where everyone's just like, yeah, man, we're gonna give you Farsi. It'll just take a year. Just bang that out. Get like 3 pluses, which is fluent. Get 3 pluses, and then we'll get you out the door by December. And it's just like, you don't get to say, I'm sorry, I'm bad at languages, so I need to go to London. I mean, it's like, no, we'll just give you Farsi, get you out to Dubai, get you there in a year. And like that performance culture, and you, if it's done right, it sucks you into it. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah. He said just bang out some Russian. I just got to do 18 months of Russian. Yeah, got it. And it's the same thing where a good culture can pull expectations higher without you needing to say, like, just to be clear, Mr. Ruff, you need to get this score to do this, to go do more of this. Like, it's not done. It's just like, hey, let's just go bang out. Let's go bang out your language. And so I did.
Yeah. There is a leverage when you have an organization that's built on accountability. There is another level of leverage that as a leader you get to unlock, because now you don't just have, it's not just you holding the people beneath you accountable and all comes to you. It's them holding each other accountable.
So that was what I was going to say, which is I think one of the tests, if I was to talk to like a business owner right now, like somebody that I worked with, and they're like, oh, I think we have a pretty good culture. I think the test is it proliferated and kind of enforced, for lack of a better word, by people other than the boss? Like, I think that that's actually like a very good checkbox, because the E4 in the 160th is like, hey, sir, that's not how we do things here. Or what, like it's not the commanding officer being like, as a reminder, everybody will be on time because we're in a timely culture here, right? It's enforced organically, not just, right? Like, do you think that's a good test?
I think it's a good test. How do you test for it?
I think you ask. We did an emerging leaders class a couple of weeks ago when I said, what do you guys think the culture at Sagan is? And I asked them, and I didn't come in and say, guys, here's the culture at Sagan. I said, based on what you guys are kind of like high middle management, like, what do you guys think? And I wanted to hear what they said. And they had some really interesting input. We haven't quite formalized it yet, but we should.
What was some of it?
Moving really fast. Like, speed is probably the biggest one. I would say a looseness interpersonally, but a formality when it comes to work. So we are very loose. Like, we don't take ourselves seriously, but we take the work seriously. Is kind of we break each other's balls, whatever, have a good time. But like when you need to snap in, like, you put the hat on, you snap in. I think that's a big part of our culture, because it comes largely, cultures, oftentimes organizations take on the characteristics of their leaders. Yeah. And I think if you were to describe those things, I think they're some of the biggest parts of my personality.
I would say so. And my follow-up question is, are you seeing the culture that you want?
Broadly speaking, I think so. You know, I think so. And I think part of it too, in terms of cultivating, I said this to a guy I work with. I think one of the major questions when you're leading an organization is everyone's job to fulfill your vision, or are you going to let them play a part of it too? And I think there's a lot of leaders who say, this team is here to make what's in my head become real. And I think there's strengths to that. And I think there's weaknesses to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. The way that I'm choosing to build our organization is I want them to be stamping their identity on our culture, not just, well, Jon thinks we should move. Jon thinks this was a cool article that he read on the internet, so we should do this. It's like, no, like, Anya, I want you to be a big part of our culture. What do you think is a value that you see that we need to do more of? It's not just the Jon story. Everybody's creating a symphony or an orchestra of their stories too. So I don't think culture is something that is top down, like not done right. Like I think I can shape it like a little bit on the edges. I can call certain things out. I can kind of, but ultimately I think it's a emergent phenomenon. Right? It emerges from your company and it's watered or it's weeded. What do you think?
I think that it definitely takes on the characteristics of the leader,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Organizations take on the characteristics of their leadership. Yep.
And then what is reinforced over and over and over and over.
Celebrated.
And over
yeah, celebrated.
Yeah. What's celebrated, and then look at what's held accountable. Like I shared this story before, but we had a pilot that was removed from the organization at a very senior level because of a cultural violation, which is a big, like, not a trivial thing, but it was a cultural violation, and it could have just been like a pass over. Okay, well, it's like whatever, move on from this. And they made the right decision, like very deep impact decision based off of, okay, we can't let this cultural violation get away.
I think it's this has evolved from kind of a conversation about expectations to one about culture, which is a really big important thing. I think when I think about culture, I think it's the kind of thing that is probably the single most valuable thing as you're building your team, but it's like the hardest, the least measurable, the one that you can't force. Like it's the old quote. It's like, if you want people to like sail far, don't teach them how to make sails, teach them to love the sea. Right? Teach them to romanticize the sea, not like, here's how you build a sail. And it's like, a high performance culture, it's not like shoving KPIs up somebody's ass. It's teaching them to love the discipline of being accountable to a number, or how to give feedback to a boss and know that it's the hardest thing to build, but once it's built, it is an unstoppable weapon, and it causes guys to get shot in the legs and be like, yeah, dude, I can still fly. Or it's not an SOP that's going to create that behavior. Like, if shot in the legs, remember, aviate, communicate. Isn't that a step? Fly the plane, communicate, navigate, aviate, navigate, communicate. What is it? I don't know why.
I don't know. Fly
Aviate,
the aircraft.
Navigate, communicate. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Fly the aircraft.
Yeah, fly the aircraft.
So when you think about setting expectations, it's kind of like priorities. If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. Oh, yeah. So when you think about expectations, where do you start? Like where do you put the most weight when it comes to expectations?
I was really affected by a video I've mentioned many, many times about lead like the great conductors. I was just like, if you ever want to know how I think about leadership, just like it's a 20-year-old TED talk that I absolutely love. I'm obsessed with it, right? Just the lessons and whatever. And when I think about expectations, I genuinely, the way that I lead is I try to create the space for the team to drive their own expectations. Like, I try to create an environment, a culture where they're the ones saying, we need to let this person go. Not me saying, hey, I've noticed that this person is not a fit. My team is coming to me saying, they're just not they're not saying it. They're not
Mhm.
like, so for me, it's not top down dictatorial. We recruit A players. I want my team to be like our team fired somebody today. I was like, I didn't even know who it was.
Hmm.
I was like, who is that? It's like, oh, it's a new recruiter we hired. She made it about 3 weeks. Just not good enough. I had nothing to do with it. The onboarding and then the firing, I had nothing to do with. And that's, to me, my job is to create the space such that they are the ones who are closest to our problems, closest to our customers. They're the ones ultimately, and I'm very lightly touching the organization on the edges and kind of key moves up top and resource. That's how I think about it, because I'm distant from the problems.
How do you coach them to set expectations?
Like this. I mean, like this. I mean, we do this and we say, "Hey, Christian, welcome aboard. You're our new head of recruitment. You know, I'd love you to get back to me with a plan within the next week or two about where you want to take our recruitment organization. Just so you know, we move fast here. People don't die if we make a mistake, and so speed is the primary thing. Please don't just put it in AI. I'm actually going to read it. Look forward to seeing what you come up with."
Mm.
Like, and then they might present something. I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to do with this second one here. Can I suggest, though, like, I'll gently shape, but ultimately, I think the most important thing is, from an expectation standpoint, that it's not. I love being in charge of an organization that's not top down.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones, like, I had this idea and I'm like, it's not me pushing stuff down, but that takes a really serious commitment.
It does. It's a lot of the, we talked about delegation and empowerment before about that. So how do coming back to the accountability piece, I think I have seen, especially in some of the younger leaders that I've coached, is
Yeah.
that, okay, they figure out the expectation part. I'm going to set better expectations and they're going to
Yep.
be specific, shared, and supported. I mean, I have one client that like has SSS on a Post-it note on her computer because she thinks through every time she sends a expectation, specific, shared, and supported. So you got that. Now you've created great expectations and now you have to hold them accountable. There's a lot of emotional friction around that.
Yeah.
There's emotional friction around, man, I don't want to be the hard ass, or I'm afraid if I hold them accountable, they're going to lead. They're going to leave. How do you think about breaking through that emotional friction to actually hold them accountable?
I also want to add a little color to your SSS model, because I have a comment on that. Because I think I want to put a little nuance on it, and I want to see if you agree with me. But going to your question you just asked, I think teaching them how to hold somebody accountable, like we talk about the 4 steps to giving feedback, which is a huge part of holding people accountable. We had that happen. We had somebody who was underperforming, and our person started walking through the steps. And when she got feedback in written form, she quit. And I was like, that's the system working. Like, that's a good thing. Like,
it's a great thing.
Because we thought we were going to fire her. Because I was like, but look, give feedback, give her a chance to improve, put it in writing, CC me. And she said, you know what? I think it's better off if I just leave. And I was like, great job. Perfect. Like, you won. Right? Like, we don't have to fire her because she did not like the feeling of being held accountable. Next.
Yep.
And I like, that's the system work. I was like, win. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, perfect. And this person was great. We love this person, but was not hitting our standard. Here's the thing that I wanted to ask about. When you talk about expectations and specific, shared, and supported. Definitely agree on shared. Definitely agree on supported. Mm-hmm. My question is on specific. I think I agree with what you're saying when you're talking about a low performer or maybe somebody new, where in order to hold them accountable, you need to point to a document that says, hey man, we show up at 6 a.m. per the daily calendar. Yes. You weren't here at 6 a.m. Specific, right? When somebody's a high performer, I don't give high performers specific expectations. I say, Ruf, close with and kill the enemy. Let me know if you need more ammo.
Yeah. There's definitely a proportionality to it.
There's a performance level where, like, the lower they are, the more specific I am. But the higher they are, I'm just like, hey man, you know the mission. Let me know if you need anything. I'll be over there.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be like, if you don't successfully do this, right? Like,
Yeah, there's
talk about that a little bit.
100% agree. There's a proportionality to it based off of the experience of the leader and
Yeah.
then the experience of whoever's on the other side of that. Like some people, I remember I had a warrant officer once, more senior warrant officer. So for the audience, it's a Army
Guys who
aviator
don't
that's
wear
basically
uniforms.
just a pilot. And he was a senior guy, bunch of deployments. This was before I went to the 160th. And I walked in one day and I forget what sparked it, but he looked at me. I really like this dude. He's like, "Sir, I just want you to tell me exactly what to do. Just tell me exactly what to do. Like, I'm here. Just tell me specifically exactly what you want and I'll do it. I want to be told what to do." And he was a high performer, always got stuff done, but that really opened my aperture to like some people want that. Some people want to operate within a box and they're like, "Here's my box, here's what I do." Others, like, they're like you just said, "Hey, we got this problem, go figure it out. Let me know if you need anything." And I would say the 160th more mirrored that style where you didn't have to lay it out. You did not have to lay it out with that because everybody came from a background of like, well, whatever expectation you give me, I'm going to try to surpass.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a proportionality, but when I'm starting and working with somebody new, I'm like, all right, let's get through the mechanism of being specific on everything so that you learn. Yeah. So you have the beginner's mindset. You understand the fundamentals, but the proportionality thing is real.
Yeah. And we do this informally. Like when somebody starts with us, they write end of day reports, right? It's a form of accountability and expectation setting. But as soon as we build a little bit of trust, they stop doing them. That's an example of where in the beginning, it's kind of very, prescriptive. And over time, if they perform well, not automatically, if they perform well, they get more and more leash. And if they perform poorly, the leash gets pulled in.
So what do you do if you have someone who is performing really well, you stop doing those daily reports and all of a sudden it drops off? What's your move?
I just did this a couple of weeks ago. I said, on your first day, I said, if you're performing well, you will have a long leash at Sagan. And if you're underperforming, I will give you a proctology exam. This is me pulling the leash in. Moving forward, here are my expectations. And I will very clearly tell them, you haven't been getting the job done. Moving forward, it's not decentralization and empowerment in spite of all performance. It's decentralization and big boy rules in the face of high performance. And in the face of low performance, I am so far up your butt, you're like a sock puppet until you either improve or you leave. Yep. So it's not, oh, Jon's always chill. It's like, no, Jon's chill because you're good. Have you ever seen not chill Jon? It's right. Like, so okay. So I know we're bumping up on time, but there's a topic I want to hit on that I want to hear your thoughts, which is when we talk about this cultural creation, high performance, people setting expectations that just aren't the boss. What are some of the things? Because I think when you say it like that, every single business owner listening to this says, I want that. What are some of the hard parts about that? Like, what are some of the thorns on that rose? Because when you just say it in a vacuum, everybody says, absolutely. So I'll give you an example of one. Mm-hmm. I have absolutely had people that I would have fired in a day once I saw something. But because of the culture that we've built, I have to let my manager come to that conclusion on their own. Because if I swoop in and cut their knees out, I've disempowered my entire chain of command. So that's like, huge. If you're not prepared to do that, even though my title says CEO, saying I do not have permission to fire somebody that works for Benzie. Okay, so that's an example of like a thorn on the rose, and there will be business owners who go, I don't get it. I'm the CEO. Why can't I do what I want? It's like, you're not prepared to run an organization according to the Christians Denies philosophy. If you're not prepared to do something like that, what are some other things that you think like are the hard parts of this type of philosophy?
I mean, the hard parts of like, if you can't find replacements, like you have somebody who's underperforming, not meeting expectations, maybe not a cultural fit, but somehow they still, well, let's imagine for a second, like they're a terrible cultural fit. I see this all the time, terrible cultural fit, but they're really good at their job.
Yeah.
and they can't be replaced for months because it takes months to find somebody. What do you do?
And you have an SBA loan.
Yeah, and you had to have the SBA loan. I mean, we had that. I had that in the 160th.
Yeah, you had an SBA loan. Wow.
Yeah, there's helicopters, man. You know, I
Those
had,
things are expensive.
I was like, quote, responsible for like 6 of them with 35 million. I had SBA loan. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
They'll write those things for anything.
They're going to take my station wagon. I know. I think that's when I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, gets good results, terrible cultural fit. Or technical expert, but in a management position, but I don't have anybody else who's who can manage and also understand the technical part.
Look, use the classic one in football. You have a high performer who shows up late to a team meeting, and the team he's your star quarterback, and you're trying to qualify for the playoffs. And I mean, it's hard though because they just win, and the coach says you're benched, and he is your best quarterback, but he showed up late. Like, are you prepared to make painful decisions in the name of your culture? That's hard.
Yeah. I had a client just do that. I was really proud of him. He did that. They made a hire. They paid all these recruiting fees for it. And then before like the first 90, I think it was like 60th day, he realized like this dude is not the dude. It's like culturally not the dude. And he just said no. And he lost out on some recruiting fees and now has to going into their busy season, has to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And he just called me. He's like, yeah, I did it. And I was like, hell yeah, you did it. Like, that's a hard decision.
Culture to me, and culture of expectations and all that stuff, is one of those things. It's kind of like staying married to your wife and like actually in love, which is in any given day, there's a shortcut you can take. But if you string together enough of those shortcuts, you'll look back in 2 years and say, I've grown distant from my wife, or our culture is polluted. Because in any one single decision, could he probably have kept that guy through busy season? Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, right? But every time you do that, the culture dies a little bit. And you string together enough of those deaths, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you don't recognize the company you own. And same with, any given day I can say, hey, honey, I'm going to work late. Hey, honey, I'm going out with the boys. And that one moment, who cares? Pretty low stakes. But you string together enough of those, and next thing you know, you're like, I feel like I don't know you anymore, and you're my wife. So I think culture and expectation setting it's always easy to punt. It's always easy. And I think the disciplined leaders are the ones bringing it to a head and, forcing that discussion and talking specifically. And I think that's kind of like a really good takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a hard decision. I like, that was a good analogy.
We're short a pilot deploying. It's like, okay, we're short a pilot. But we literally are going to hurt the reputation of the 160th if we deploy this guy, even though we're short a pilot. It's like, I guess we'll be short a pilot, right? But that's a really hard thing to say when you're getting breathed down on by whoever.
That's a very hard one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will close with one thing, totally random. Do you have any summary thoughts to this? Any ways you want to bring it home?
Yeah. Accountability is hard. It gets a lot easier with good expectations.
Yeah. Love that. Last thing I will say, just because I know it's up your alley, the thing I've been liking to relax at night, there's a YouTube channel of a guy who's a lumberjack. Have you ever listened to because Christian studied forestry.
Yes.
Have you ever listened to a lumberjack talk about technically taking down large trees?
No, but I would like to. Can you share the YouTube?
It is incredible. It's like this Canadian guy who's talking about do you do like an underside cut or are you a top down? And all of these different, dude, it is technical because their lives are at risk. If they you see how the tree's here, but you see it's a birch, which is a hardwood, which means it's going to shiv when I cut it. So I have to do an and you're like, I know nothing about this and it's incredible. So strong recommend lumberjack content on YouTube. And I thought of you when I was watching it because I know you're a man who loves trees, given your undergraduate education. All right. Where can people find you if they want to hire elite special operations folks for their teams?
Twitter, LinkedIn, uncommonelite.com.
Cool, man. All right. Thanks, Christian. I'm going to hit pause.
See ya.